Let's talk about what you guys set out to do, obviously, and then what you were brought on board to do. Why did you come on to the team?
Well, yeah, just to give some people some history. So Maverix was started in mid 2016. Pan American Silver basically vended in their royalties into Maverix and basically took a large equity stake. And over those 4 years, we've done 10 separate transactions in terms of buying royalties and streams. And I think the one that we've been most notable for is acquiring royalty portfolios from some of the largest gold mining companies and silver companies in the world. So we've done obviously Pan American Silver, followed that up with Goldfields, and then we did Newmont's, and then at the end of last year, perfectly timed, we did Kinross's royalty portfolio as well, and they all had big equity stakes in Maverix.
So Ryan, I mean, you've got quite a few big names involved there. The Ross Beatties of this world, Eric Sprott, and obviously with Kinross and Newmont, Pan American. This is fantastic, but it's a very highly competitive environment that you are now stepping into. You've got some of the bigger players at 5 million plus market cap, and you're going to try to compete with these guys. How do some of the names that you are now working with enable you to get deals that perhaps are just that little bit more competitive?
I think there's a couple things that we've got. So I think obviously the connections with some of those large players that I just previously mentioned is critical. We get deal flow from them directly. There's a great dialogue. Obviously, we've got someone from Pan American and Newmont on our board. And I think there's certainly pretty good dialogue back and forth just from a deal perspective and also from a technical perspective. If we've got questions about various assets that we're looking at, we can always bounce some questions off of those guys. And so that's been hugely helpful. And they've also basically vetted us as a company. And so to the extent that there are other royalty portfolios out there that are looking for a home, they would look at those endorsements by some of those large players as very positive. And I think you've seen that with the 4 we've done, and hopefully we can do a few more of those.
But I mean, what do you do going forward? Do you have to keep picking up large portfolio type plays, or do you just go after bigger royalties? And where do you find these? I mean, it gets harder and harder as you move up the food chain, right? So where do you find these?
Yeah, that's actually another good point. Actually, is we are at that size now where a new royalty or stream actually is meaningful to us, regardless of its size almost. So anything sort of $50 million and plus is actually really meaningful to us. And there are actually quite a few of those deals to be had versus, there are only a few kind of $1 billion deals, although they do exist. But I think that is a good point because, at some point as we grow, we will run into that problem where we need to get bigger royalties or streams coming on board. But we've got a lot of runway before that. So we don't really see that as a problem at the minute.
It's not a problem at the minute, but you need to set yourself up properly because, again, we've looked at some of the bigger royalty companies, and I won't mention names here, but if you look at their share prices, they're really, really struggling. And it seems to be a big disconnect between what they're doing corporately and what they're doing for shareholders. And money seems to be, you're making money, a lot of money, but it's being plowed back into deals, plowed back into the ground with ever expanding big ideas. But at the end of the day, I'm a shareholder. I make my money if the price of the shares go up. So how do you ensure that you don't make the same mistakes that have been done by people who've trod the path before you?
I think the great thing is that here at Maverix, we have a lot of experience in the space. So myself and Dan O'Flaherty, who's the CEO of Maverix, we actually were working on some of the original streaming deals back in the early 2000s on the investment banking side. And so it's interesting. We've actually seen things evolve over the past sort of 15 plus years. And the size of the market has also grown a lot. I think 15 years ago, the market cap of the entire space was about 5 billion US. Now it's about 60 billion US. And that's not surprising at all because it is a great business model and the returns have been good. So it's not surprising that there have been new entrants and things. But I think the one thing that we're always focused on is really doing good deals that are accretive for our shareholders. So we're looking to increase NAV per share, cash flow per share, and consequently dividends we'd expect to grow per share as well as time goes on. And the other aspect also is trying to shrink the valuation differential between ourselves and the larger players. And so there's sort of a two-pronged approach here at Maverix to move that share price up for our shareholders. And I think it should be noted too that Maverix insiders own about 10% of the business. So we are 100% focused on shareholders, and we'll do whatever it takes to get that share price up.